So here's how I made £250,000 and didn't see a penny of it myself. So I was working for a company and they were paying me a wage. So technically you could say I did see some of the money because it came out as a wage, but I was working for them. Basically, as COVID struck, I got this new job and I started to work for this company, but I was working from home as a remote worker. And they were a publishing company, so they used to publish information products, and because they were educational and they were printed material, you didn't pay VAT on them. So what they used to do was send out a mailing or an email, direct people to a sales page on their website. Then anybody who bought the product, they would mail it out. When COVID came, I was asked to convert a couple of those books into digital products, and I basically set up the website so that there was the sales page and then there was the download page, like a thank you page. And so I set up some of these digital pages, digital products for them. And while we were there, while I was working for them, I kind of said to them, have you ever thought of selling these products and sort of licensing the products, or selling them, or giving affiliate commissions to people who could sell them? They didn't want to go down the route of sort of having affiliates trying to sell them for them because, well, they've been in the publishing industry for quite a while and they knew that people were basically genuinely lazy, and that the people on their audience, on their email lists and their mailing lists, were in many ways pretty clueless. And so they would have to learn, and it would probably take them time to learn, and a lot of the people would just not do anything with it. So they didn't want to do affiliates, so they decided that licensing things would be good. But they never had the opportunity in the past because they didn't really know how to do it. They thought about it, but didn't know how to do it. But because I come along and I was quite good with WordPress, I said to them, I said, I can take your sales letters and I can convert them, the sales pages, into Elementor templates. So Elementor is a page builder for WordPress. And when you create a template, then you can simply add it to numerous WordPress websites. So I was able to take their sales pages, convert them into Elementor pages, and then I was able to build a website for whoever bought that product. I was also able to take those original products and convert them into digital products, and then have a download page. So I was able to build each customer, a client, a specific website, and put on those pages, put on those sales pages, those download pages, and like a thank you page and all that stuff. So they had a bit of a think about this. I told them what I could do and what we could do and that, and so they said yes. So they came up with this idea. They chose 5 of their best-selling information products from the past. Now the problem is that a lot of those were sort of old. Some of them were slightly outdated. They were in different niches. They were mixed, but basically what they decided to do. Now the guy who I work for, there was a partnership. There was a couple of them, but one of the guys was a very good copywriter, and he had this skill of writing sales copy, which was very much curious based driven, and it was very much sort of vague. So people didn't necessarily know exactly what was what, but they would also they would get hooked into the sales letter. But because they were a publishing company who had actually made quite a lot of money selling these products, they had a social history, a proof that what they were selling was really good, or what they sold well. They had a history of selling these products. They was able to put that on the sales page, saying they could do like a rough estimate of all the products that they sold over there. And so they would say something like, we'd made X amount of millions selling these products, and publishing in information publishing is this big industry, and blah blah blah, and you can get your own slice of the pie, and you this, and basically we will do everything for you. All you need to do is basically send people to the sales letter, and so they sold this product to the audience. Now I'm going to show you in a few minutes exactly also how it worked and what. I'm going to do a bit of a screen flow, but the thing that I want to get across here, and I think is very vital and important, is that so I came up with this product, I created the product, I created the manual, I wrote the manual, I created a series of training videos, video tutorials, I created a tutorial area, a website specifically for people to go to do the training. I was also the person who was like support. I would answer questions that came in. I built individual websites for people, so when somebody bought, then I would build the website, I would liaise with them, I'd build the website, and I would put the pages on there. And I also did, I think I did quite a few emails. I wrote emails, I set up an Aweber, I set up an email autoresponder. So really everything was set up I built this business for people to run with. and they were supposed to read the manual, watch the training, and then get the teeth into it. But the truth be told, most people didn't really know what to do. It was kind of, personally speaking, I would have not sold it to as many other people that they did. Ideally, I would prefer to sell them to someone who was actually more interested in actually doing the work and making it work than, falling in love with the idea of probably making millions from selling information products, even though they've never sold them before. So I kind of knew how many customers we had. Now, I said about £250,000. This is in sales. This is actually, looking back now, I think it's probably from like 2 or 3 multiple different products. I was able to do like a membership product, or I was managing a membership product for them, for one thing, and then there was this partner program which I'm talking about now. Then there was a second sort of partner program which followed on, which was a similar thing. So because I was building the web pages and building these partners' websites, I got the figures and I knew roughly how many people have bought. Now, the one thing I don't know is how many people refunded. I've got a fair number of people who refunded. I was told on some, but there might have been more. And I also don't know what the costs were for the mailing, and we'll talk about this in a few minutes. But basically, the company had an established audience, and so I know that there were originally officially about 107 sales of this product, £1,997. And I know how many people, a sort of a rough figure of how many people have refunded. So there was around £200,000 in just that one product, and then the following product again was probably about another 30,000 on that. But the initial product, which sold 5 products, had a follow-up product each month, and quite a few of those people were paying £97 a month to have a second, to license another product. And every time that they purchased another product, I would then add the new sales page and the product to their website. And so, it was, well, but by the time we'd finished, we'd made over £250,000 in sales. Now, again, I'd say this isn't necessarily profit, but because I did the bulk of the work. Now, I'm not going to say that the copywriter did his work, and then there was the people who took the orders in the office, and obviously they had the products beforehand. But without me, they would not have had these 2 to 3 products that had generated over £250,000. And I can tell you now that what I got paid to do those is pennies in comparison. So let me just go and have a look at the screen now, because I just want to quickly show you sort of the idea of what this business is. So this is a bit of a look at what was happening. So there was 5 products already existed. So these were old products with sales pages, and they just needed, basically, when I converted them into templates, where the company details were, I left that blank, and I would, every time I built a new website with the sales pages, I would just put the customers, the clients' details on the bottom of the sales page. So I've modified it, but basically the sales pages were templates. I just needed to change the purchase links and the download links. And so I converted the sales pages into Elementor templates for WordPress. So every time anybody bought the product, I would just build a new site, put on the sales pages, the download pages, and Bob's your uncle. It was done for them. So these 5 products were packaged as a product. And so the whole license was 1997. So that's £1,997. Obviously there'll be VAT on that because it was different. It was a digital product and an online product and a service or whatever license. So there was a VAT on that. Now, there were mailings, so email doesn't necessarily cost a huge amount, but they were doing printed mailings, so there's a lot of money to come out of that. So again, like I say, this isn't necessarily profit, this is sales. And looking back on the figures now, it's actually probably from like 2 or 3 different products, but that's beside the point. But the company couldn't have done this without me. That's what I'm trying to say, is that they could not have done any of this without me. So whenever anybody purchased a package, I would go and build a new website and add the updated sales pages, and the landing pages. That was the other thing, they did the landing page. So there was an opt-in form. So there was an extra bonus product that they gave away that they could use to give us away as a lead magnet to build an email list. And so I set up an autoresponder, and in that autoresponder was, I think it was a follow-up series of about 7 emails which I'd wrote, and then I also wrote, I think probably about another 12 or 14 emails that people could use. And I did a series of videos about showing people how to write more emails and do the marketing. And so I built them their home publishing business system. I built everything, and I created all the video tutorials, the training area, and wrote the training manual, which we'll have a look at in a second. And then, like I say, they messaged through email, or they sent direct mail, mailings through the post to people, to their existing list. And this is the thing that I want people to realize, is that they already had their products and they already had their audience. They had a audience who was established. They've been doing this for quite a few years, and they had a good sales letter, and so they sold this product to these people. And like I said, licenses were sold at 1997 to their large established audience, and then each month after that there was a further £97 taken out until they said stop. But I would always add other products to them, and I know that there were some people who had spent, what was supposed to be £1,997, they'd probably spent over 2,500 to 3,000 by the time they'd finished purchasing these other products. Sadly, I don't think any of them sold anything, because I think it was sold to the wrong audience, and I think a lot of that audience was made up by people who are typically chasing big bucks. They're chasing the get rich quick schemes, and when they actually got their product up and running, once they realized that done for you meant we built the system, but they still had to do the work, they didn't. Some people were pretty old, some people were pretty clueless, some people just read the sales letter and got excited, thought it was basically plug and play, and off they went, and they would make a lot of money. Sadly, that isn't how it worked. And so, like I say, there was one new product each month, and they were follow-up products for £97 each. I don't know how many people actually fully refunded. There might have been more than what I know, but still, I do know that I know what the figures were, the sales figures were, and I know what the sales figures were for the follow-up. So the follow-up was a similar one, but this time, instead of 5 sales pages and 5 products, it was 4 products bundled into one, which you sold from 1 sales page. It was a little bit disastrous, that product, actually, but it was same principle. I built the sales page template. I built the websites for people. I added the templates. I added the landing page. We did all that stuff. But this time they didn't have the members area with the training video. What they did have was a rewrite of the manual. So let me just have a quick look at the manual. So this is the manual that I wrote. It's 73 pages long, I believe. So if we scroll down, you'll see it's called the Lazy Millionaire Publishing Handbook, or Publisher's Handbook. And so there's quite a few chapters. There's 73 pages. And so this is before AI was a thing. So I wrote all this. I created all the screenshots. In fact, I think that was my daughter's photograph, actually, from a meal she had. And, I did the screenshots, and yeah, so I did all the writing, all the work on that. And then there was the actual website. So the website was I built, and again, you'll see I created other products as well. How to create a profitable product in 7 days or less. That was an ebook I wrote. And then there was all the training videos that I did. And so there was lots. And in fact, there's me. And that's my old office in my old place. So yeah, I created all of that. And it was quite a big job. And like I say, there was, I think, about 107 people who initially bought it. I think from my records, there's probably about 15 people had refunded. There might have been more. There was actually quite a few people who didn't ask for a refund, and I didn't even actually build the website for them because they never got in touch. I don't know if they just bought it and decided it wasn't for them and left it at that, or what happened. But then, like I say, then there was the second part of the program, which was pretty similar, and that was in effect the same sort of setup, but reduced. And again, I built all that without me being there in that company. This is something that they could not have done. And then there was the membership. So that's a membership is something else to talk about. So I did other products as well. I created other products which they sold and generated. So I would say that my few years while I was working for this company, I had generated over £250,000 for them in sales on products that they did not have or could not have had. I was instrumental in writing a couple of sales pages for a few products for somebody else who did quite well. But like I say, the £250,000 in sales, all I saw was a wage, which wasn't the biggest wage, wasn't the best wage, and so I didn't get to see any of that. And it's quite depressing and quite sad, really, when you look at it and you think that Without me, that would not have been possible for that company. It just wouldn't have been possible for them. And so I put all that money into there and I came out with absolutely bare minimum. And sadly, while I was working for this company, now I'm pretty grateful for them, as in the fact that I was able to work from home and I was able to take that over to Portugal and I was able to work remotely from there for them and for other people. So I was being very loyal to them and working on them and I worked for them, and I hadn't focused on my own business or on myself, which is why when suddenly AI came along and took away my clients, I'm kind of left dead in the water without my own email list. If I'd had my own email list, I was in charge of email lists or smaller email lists. They had a big email list, but because of the work that I was doing, I also had an Aweber account for them, and I had several email lists that I used to email to. I used to write an email every day for them as somebody else, and I was selling their products and services through those emails. And because I always remember getting an email from the boss, and he was saying, like, have you just written anything? Have you wrote an email about something, or done something? And I'll be like, yeah. He says, wow, we've had a handful of sales of a product which we've not promoted. And that's because the emails that I was writing were being put in this system and sent out to these 2 or 3 lists. And people were going to the page and they were buying these products and they didn't know where they were coming from, because, I was kind of like a little island, I suppose. I was doing things for them, but I was kind of left to my own devices in a way. But sadly, when things decided, when they decided that they no longer wanted me, when they decided to sort of semi-retire and downsize, and that they didn't need my services, that unfortunately they wouldn't allow me to take those little email lists that I was using or managing. They decided that they needed them deleting, which is that is what's part galling, considering how much I probably did generate for them over those few years. And they didn't give me a pay rise when I asked for it, and I gave them so many products that has generated them quite a lot of money that they would not have had without me. Had I not been there, there was nobody there to convert those sales pages and those products into templates and themes and digital formats. There wasn't people there who was able to set up those websites for people. I mean, I made them a lot of money. I didn't really get to see any of it beyond a paid wage, and I walked away from that business with, obviously there was a bit of when you are made redundant, you do have like a bit of a small payout, but I didn't walk away with any of the email names or any lists or anything, and I just kind of a bit shell shocked when the email came through. I was left dead in the water and I had my own business. So this is why I want to focus on let me just swap the picture. It makes it look a bit better than the page. So this is why I want to focus more on my own business now. I'm focusing on YouTube. Now, I've just heard that YouTube are changing things around. They are now insisting that you have 8,000 hours of watch time as opposed to 4,000. So that kind of makes it a little bit more difficult now for this challenge. I'm going to do a video about that soon as well to talk about that. But yeah, so YouTube and video is my way forward, and I want to build that email list. So talking about email lists, if you're interested in anything such as more of my videos, my articles, my emails, or anything like that, then please pop over to my website and sign up for the newsletter. You'll find that at andylehman.com. Right, I shall speak to you again soon in another video. Cheers and goodbye.